I'm Cynthia James, and this network is about changing lives one woman at a time. Welcome. This is Woman Awakening, and I am your host, Cynthia James. I'm so honored that I get to share with you women that inspire me, women that are change makers, and that are absolutely standing in the power of who they've come here to be. So welcome, and know that you can subscribe to us on iTunes, iHeart, Amazon, YouTube. Come back every week and meet these extraordinary women. So my guest today is Karyl Huntley Sadler. After 30 years in active pulpit ministry in Centers for Spiritual Living, serving 3 communities, she retired from a 24/7 ministry. And by the way, if you're in ministry, you are 24/7. And she moved to rural England with her new husband to write, counsel, live close to the ancestors, honor the distinct seasons with ritual, and practice the old ways. In her life prior to ministry, Karyl had careers in high school teaching and college textbook publishing. She's lived on both coasts of America and traveled worldwide. She led tours to sacred sites in Great Britain and Europe for 10 years. She's created rituals, and it's one of the things I love about her. And that her first book was called Real Life Rituals, a must-have. And her newest book is Celebrate with Ritual. And it goes further into the power of ritual, identifying 7 purposes of ritual and how to accomplish them. Karyl, thank you so much for being here.
I'm very honored and excited to be with you and your women. So thank you for inviting me.
Well, you look beautiful. And I always start by asking people, tell us a little bit about where you came from. People tend to think that people come in with a vision and they drop right into it and they become successful. And that's not exactly how it works.
Oh, no, not at all. Well, I grew up in Tucson, Arizona, and very close to the Mexican border. And I went all the way first grade through college in the desert. And I had family in California. And as a little girl, that's my introduction to Science of Mind was I would attend church at Founders Church in Los Angeles on the same vacations that I went to Disneyland. So, I mean, that's to me, that's my life. It's a dream come true in so many ways. And I loved the ministry, and it served me, and I believe I served many, many people. And my deepest calling is through personal ritual and personally created ritual. So that's what I do, and that's what I teach, and that's what I write about.
Well, yeah, I want to dive into this. What, why is ritual important? What is ritual? Some people hear the word and don't necessarily know what it is or what it's important. So, what is it to you and why is it important?
I think it's a combination of things. It's an action where you do something, and that doing something means something. And it means something very, very important to you. Like, for example, in a wedding, the exchange of rings is the action, and the meaning of exchanging rings is deeply, deeply personal and profound to the people that are literally in that instant transformed from a bride and a groom into a wife and a husband.
Yeah.
That is the transformation ritual that we're all familiar with. I'll say just one little thing because I think this is in my bones. The first ritual that I can remember was in Tucson, Arizona, and I was 11 years old. I had girlfriends over to my house, which was in the desert, and we had a cave. It was not a big cave. It was just like kind of an indentation in a hillside, but we called it the cave. And we decided that we wanted to be with a club of girls that was really kind of wild for 11-year-olds. And so what what we did was we took off our shirts and we went into the cave. And that was the ritual. And we started this club. We remained friends literally forever. And it was in a moment, a sweet little innocent moment of little girls taking their shirts off and becoming goddesses in the cave. It was amazing.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Well, and the power of the woman, the power of the circle, and the power of the ritual all at once.
Oh, yeah.
But you were 11 years old. I mean, that's pretty extraordinary. I guess I want to. So here you've done 3 ministries,
Mhm,
in these
mhm.
numbers of years, and how did you introduce ritual into your community? Because people come into spiritual communities from all different walks of
Yeah,
life,
yeah,
all different
yeah.
religions or none. How did you introduce it?
Uh, it was sort of given to me, first of all, because Karen Drucker, as many people know, a wonderful, wonderful singer songwriter, was my music director. And um, we were invited to create an opening ceremony for the national um, meeting, the national meeting of Centers for Spiritual Living, or at that time, I think it was Churches of Religious Science. And so we were invited to be uh, the creators of this opening extravaganza. And so we naturally thought about creating intentions and creating connection and holding hands and declaring our word and entering into this 5 days of work with our colleagues ready to go. And that was so fabulous that I started doing some things with my own community. And usually it had to do with the seasons because that's everybody's common thing, spring, summer, fall, and winter. It's what we have on this earth plane, and may it be that we always have those 4 seasons.
Yes.
um, and so I started doing ritual, and about that time I started doing altars every Sunday. So I had an altar team, and these women and men sometimes would create these elaborate altars that complemented my talk. And so it was kind of this whole thing. And a lot of times we'd have ritual at the altar. They would provide something that people could take, a flower or a piece of candy or something. And I infused that with meaning in my talk because that's what ritual is. It is an action that has meaning. And
Mm.
so when you say this, I'm claiming this rose and it means my purity, or I am claiming this piece of chocolate and it means the sweetness of life, that is what it means. And that's how simple and universal ritual can be.
Oh, that is so beautiful. And um, a lot of times I want to talk just about altars for a moment because some people just, equate altars with something that happens in a church and or a sacred space, like when you go on a pilgrimage, but you can create altars in your home
Oh, yeah.
for your own life. So can we talk a little bit about that?
Yes, I love to create altars wherever I go. I have all of these little tiny symbols of the sacred. I have shells and rocks and goddesses and little statuary that I take on traveling, and I create altars in the hotel rooms where I stay. And so again, it is infusing something with meaning, and it can be a rock or a shell or a leaf or something that is uh, found on a pilgrimage that you go on. And when you start amplifying meaning. The the world does it for you. So you are given these rituals. I'll tell you a short example of this. Um, my son, my oldest child, when he went to college, we had to get on an airplane very early in the morning, and going to college was like the end of August. So it was pretty early in the morning. Nobody was up. And I looked out the window of my house that was on a street in a neighborhood, and our front yard was filled with wild turkeys. I had never seen wild turkeys before. I had, this was a neighborhood. They weren't anywhere else. They were in our front yard. Oh, I was gobsmacked, as they say over here in England. But we got on the airplane. I took him to Oberlin. I went, and after, when he was in his orientation, I went to the bookstore. I looked for animal meanings, animal cards or whatever they had. And I found out that turkeys are the symbol of earthly blessings and your ability to accept them.
Wow.
And
Wow.
I mean, I still get teary thinking of this. We went through so much to get him in that college. And he had the greatest experience. And that was an example of God is all there is, whatever, giving us a ritual, giving us meaning. And
Yes.
and I think it's because I have created the habit of looking for meaning.
Right.
I didn't just say, oh, for goodness sakes, there's turkeys. I thought, well, this is really a message. And so I think over the years, the gift of my work back to me is for meaning to be um, just delivered into my hands. It's
Yeah.
it's so beautiful.
Well, I love that. I now live in the mountains of Colorado, and I used to kind of see an animal or whatever before I moved here, but now when the elk or the deer or the bobcats or the whatever show up on your property, it's like, pay attention.
Yes.
There's
Yes.
something
Mhm.
beautiful. When I was about to be ordained, every day more and more red-tailed hawks would like fly around my car. And I'm like,
Uh-huh.
oh, messengers, right? So I love that. And I love that you said, when the more you look for it, the more you see it. And
Mhm.
that's
Mhm.
incredible. Can you talk to us about, in your new book, Celebrate with Ritual, you said there's purposes, there's 7 purposes of ritual. Can you
Mhm.
just share a few with us?
Sure. I think that anybody who is a spiritual seeker um, will relate to these 7 purposes. It's the same purpose as prayer or uh, spiritual seeking of any kind. So there's a section on honoring, how to honor uh, uh, a um, a new home, how to honor a studio, how to honor um, the first day of schools, things like that. So there's a section on honoring. There's a section on manifesting. How do we create what we love or love what we've created? And then there's a section on healing and how do we make right what is off kilter in our life. There is a section on joining or connecting or adding a member or um, uh, connecting with the ancestors. There's a ritual about that. Then there's a section on transformation, and the wedding is in that section. It's the transformation of, as I said, a bride and a groom into a husband and wife. Then there's a release section where there's a memorial and the releasing of a pet. And then there's requesting information, requesting a vision for your life. So those things: honoring, manifesting, healing, joining, transforming, releasing, and requesting. Those are the 7 purposes, and those are our heart's longings. That's what we go into
Yes.
the mystery to find out, because those things, you can't just read about it. You have to discover.
I love that. I love that. You know, I want to talk about the importance of ritual, you know, as a part of aging.
Mhm.
A lot of us on the planet, no matter what age you are, we're aging. Bodies are changing,
Mhm.
relationships are changing,
Mhm.
jobs are changing. Can you talk just a little bit about how we might use ritual to honor this path of aging?
Wow, that is a great question. In the book, there is a ritual on leaving a legacy. Um,
Ah,
and so that's one thing. What do I want to give so that the world is better off because I have
mhm.
lived here?
Yeah.
And I think, you know, if we can center our attention on how we can give the gifts that are within us, we aren't so concerned with my back aches today or my hair has grown gray because I couldn't go to the hairdresser during COVID. All of those. We, when we are aging is a natural process, just like fall follows summer. And um, if we don't resist it, I think the section on healing would be good for people if they're concerned about aging, because there's nothing to be concerned about. We all get to age if we're lucky. I mean, if we live long enough to age, we're going to. And so I think rather than focus on how do I make better what is hurting, or I'm unable to do what I used to do, it's what can I do now and how is the world going to be better off because I've lived here. I think that is that's what I concentrate on, and uh, and making every single day fabulous with my husband, just expressing gratitude all the time. And that's another thing, if you express gratitude all the time, you have more to be grateful for. It's like the meaning the thing, if you look for meaning, you're finding meaning. If you express gratitude all the time, you got more to be grateful for. So that's what I that's
Love,
I'm going to
love.
stand by that.
Well, and look at the life you've manifested. Look at the history of the life that you have manifested
Mhm.
and have started a whole new life now. I mean, I just think that it's
Yeah,
incredible.
yeah.
I want people to know how to get in touch with you, how to get your book, because I think
Mhm.
actually both your books are things that need to be on everybody's shelf. So how do they find you?
Well, I am on Facebook, a personal me, Karyl Huntley Sadler. I'm on Facebook. I have a website, and the website is ancientwisdomonline.com. Ancientwisdomonline.com. And you can order my book through my website, or you can go directly to Amazon. There's a blog on my website which needs updating, but I did update the whole website as I published this book, so I'm really happy about that. But they can do that, and yeah, I'm out there. I'm easy to find,
Love
and
it.
I look
Love
just
it.
like this. I mean, so,
Great. So I ask every guest the same last question.
mhm,
This show is called Women Awakening.
mhm.
What is the one thing you want women to know about the importance of their waking up?
Mm. Um, I think that I think awakening means something slightly different to everyone. I think it we can say it, um, I want to be wiser. That's partly awakening. I want to be more joyful. That's partly awakening. So I would say put more words to awakening. What
Mm,
does that mean to you? Does it mean greater wisdom? Does it mean greater connection? Does it mean an opening into the infinite? Does it mean being satisfied with what you do every day, so that you can go to bed at night and think, this was a good day. So I think for each person, it's putting more words around that word awakening. What does it mean to you? And then telling yourself, there's a next step that I can take. And I would even there have been times in my life when I was in the middle of a huge project, and I created a list that lived on the desktop of my computer. There was a list of things I could do, next steps. And some of them were little things like write an email or pray a prayer. And some of them were organize this entire, world of this thing that has to get organized at some point. So I would say create a list of little and big to-dos, that when you ask yourself every single night when you go to bed, what is the next step I can take tomorrow? You have a choice of next steps and you do one. And
Ah,
and those next steps have to do with creating your experience of
mm,
awakening.
ah,
That's what I
that's
would say.
that's incredible. That's incredible. Well, because little steps make huge wins. And so I love that.
Mhm.
I just want to tell you, Karyl, I'm so grateful that you've been here. I'm so grateful that you get to share your passion for ritual and invite us into that conversation. And I'm really excited to be a witness to your evolution and how you continue to open, create, not just yourself as a writer and a teacher, but creating new love in your life. So ladies, what I want you to know, look at this beautiful woman. It's never too late to find love,
No, never, never.
right? So thank you so much for being here. I'm
Oh,
grateful, and
Cynthia,
I will
thank
be
you,
getting
my
your
love.
book soon.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So
Blessings to
ladies,
everyone.
thank you. So ladies, I want you to know that, like I said, we do this every week. I want you to know that the guests that come on this show are really examples. They're not exceptions. They are examples of possibility and potentiality made manifest. And so they're giving you insights and they're giving you opportunities to take a deeper dive in every area of your life. You are a masterpiece in the making. You are extraordinary, powerful, and dynamic. There's not another you. You are so loved that the universe breathed its life into you because it needed you to express. So go out and make a difference. Go out, take a leap, and dare to stand in the truth of who you are. I'm honored to be your host, and I will see you next time.